That was one. Our traditions were evil. Some of us had the tradition of scarifications, body scarifications, which is why today you have people wearing tattoos. All of that came from our cultures. And many other tribal cultures in the world did body art, not just us, you know. But again, you know, that they said that that was evil. That was another form of devil worship. Some of our women had dances that they did, you know, and some of our tribal women did these dances where they utilized the lower part of their bodies mostly, and that's how we dance. Our physical features are different. So the way we move, we're going to move differently, even when we dance. Our women and our men's, we have larger lower extremities. Not significantly larger, and I'm not saying fat. I'm talking about muscle structure. We have a very different muscle structure than the Caucasian. And so when our women, they have thicker legs, and that's all muscle, mostly muscle. A larger gluteus, and the gluteus extends. So it looks bigger, but it's all muscle. So when our women would dance, we have these ritual dances that we did. Some of them were fertility dances. Some of them were dances for, you know, where the young women showed that they were ready for courtship, they were ready for mating. And the dance involved a lot of what we call winding, or the word winding, which means to turn. So they turn the waist to show the fluidity of that waist, the elasticity of the waistline. So they would move, they would dance and undulate. And so you would see the gluteus muscle undulating as well, which is a very beautiful thing, which is why a lot of our men are attracted to larger gluteuses. That's what the Caucasian did not understand. They saw that dance because of the excessive amount of undulating, because of the sexual, to them, it was translated purely into sex. They forgot the spiritual meaning behind the dance ritual. To them, it became sex because they didn't have the same culture. They don't have that in their culture. They don't have like a ritual for anything, you know, for fertility or whatever. Maybe they do. Maybe the Irish do. And I believe they do. But the European did not understand what we were doing. So then they classified it as something sexual to see somebody's gluteus and waistline undulating. And the way our women would utilize that, and they would undulate their waist all the way down to the ground and come back up. Bend over and still do this. To them it was like, oh my God, what an abomination. And we still do these dances to this day. Except we've taken it out of the spiritual context. We've taken it out of the spiritual context, and we've taken it out of the cultural context. We've taken it out of the traditional context. So now it has no context. Now our women are in the club just winding their waistline with no meaning behind it. But it's still beautiful. It's still what we do. And traces of that body, we still have that body for the most part. A lot of our women still have that shape and structure. So now when they see this, they see it as another means to brainwash and control us. Just by telling us that that ritual that we did was sexual and it was of the devil. You see, the Western world already had a very strong gender disconnect. Their gender disconnect was so strong that they limited their women, very much so, which is why their women had to fight for the rights to vote and hold public office and work and do many things that our women were already able to do, Black women. And I'm not here to establish superiority over another culture, because I'm not trying to repeat the same mistake. What I'm trying to tell you here is the destruction of our culture and our tradition. Why was our culture, why did they have to bring this into our culture? Why did they have to bring these notions of paganism and evil practices? Why did they have to brainwash us with all of that? And that's not what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to do is enlighten you, bring you that, get you to open your eyes and see that a lot of the things that the Western world, the Europeans are claiming now, we already had established. We already had a reason for. And I'm trying to get you to see that there's a difference between us. And that difference is not something that is wrong with us. That difference is something we should celebrate. Just like they celebrate themselves every day. When they create something, they celebrate it. They put it in everybody's face. They make movies about it. And that's something that we should be doing. We shouldn't be changing our culture to try to match theirs. And no way, no how, no way, shape or form should we be trying to alter who we are. Just like these women get plastic surgery, to look white, bleach their skin to look white. In no way, shape or form should we be trying to do that to match their culture. When all essences of beauty we already had. We should celebrate what we have. Put it out there. Make movies about it the right way. Make sure we control these movies so the right story can be told, not the lies. Let's not perpetuate the lies about who Napoleon was and perpetuate the lies about Cleopatra, perpetuate the lies and show the ancient Egyptians are white. No. Let's keep the story real. Let's show these ancient actors, these ancient characters in our history as who they are. Ancient blacks, ancient melanin dominant people, if we're gonna tell the stories. And let's tell the story about who had the first university in the world. Where did certain languages come from? Who influenced the European in philosophy, in mathematics, in science? Let's tell the real stories if we're gonna make movies, if we're gonna write books. And there are already several books written about these topics. But many of us are not looking at those books. And even if we were to look at the books, we wouldn't believe it. Because we have been so indoctrinated, so conditioned, so programmed to believe what these white teachers and the white establishment is telling us. That every time one black person steps up and tells you, no, you were kings and queens back in Africa. You invented this. You invented language. You invented mathematics. You invented philosophy. You're like, oh my God. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. It was Aristotle. It was Plato. Well, Plato said. Well, it was Descartes. It was Sartre. No. Where do you think these people got their influence from? Who was Aristotle's teacher? The first university in the world was in Timbuktu, in Africa. Let's keep it real. Let's tell the real stories. So now back to why they needed to create or come up with a bogus story, a bogus justification that it was evil. That was the justification. Everything we were doing was evil. Everything these tribal blacks were doing was evil. These tribal black people with, to use another one of their terms, Negroes, okay? Everything that the early African was doing was evil. So these missionaries come on the land of Africa, bring their Bible, which their ancestors got from the ancient Egyptians. Again, let's not make no mistakes about that. There's a documentary you need to check out that really tells you the truth. It's called Zeitgeist, if you don't believe me. Here's another European telling the truth. If you don't believe me, because I'm sitting here and I'm black and I'm telling you that they got their Christianity from us, okay? You need to check out Zeitgeist. You need to listen to the esoteric agenda. You need to hear a certain amount of white people telling you this, because there are white people who keep it real. There are white people who will tell you the truth. You need to holler at them and hear what they have to say. If the message has to come from a white vehicle for you to ingest it and digest it, For you to ingest and digest the message and believe it, it must come from a Caucasian vehicle. I will give you Caucasian sources that will tell you what I'm telling you. They're on YouTube. It's right here on YouTube. Just look it up if you don't believe what I'm telling you. So they created this notion that everything we were doing was wrong, that we were gonna go to hell. Years later, they showed that there were missionaries in Africa still doing the same thing, still showing, and I'm talking late 18th century, late 19th century, early 20th century, still showing little Africans in Africa, the movie The Rapture, in classrooms in Africa. These missionaries set up these schools where they would show our young black kids in Africa these movies like The Rapture, where the wrath of God came down upon humanity. And mind you, there's not one black person in the movie, because it's one of those old movies done with early cameras.